basic income. And I've got just enough notes to prevent me from ad-libbing all over the place and taking too much time. So I'm going to try to start off by being brief too. But since it's such an amazingly simple topic at a certain level and an amazingly complex topic once you start getting into it, it's kind of hard for me to figure out how to pitch it. So I'm going to go through some basics, I hope, and I'll leave the rest for questions. I hope this is not too confusing. Like I said, just enough notes to kind of keep me from going all over the place. So the first question is, obviously, what is it? We at Basic Income Canada Network have a definition that I won't be able to remember verbatim, but it's basically, the idea is that it's a guarantee of an income that's sufficient to meet basic needs and more, not just survival, but to meet basic needs and participate in society. The key thing about it that's important for us is that it is as universal and non-conditional as possible, so it is not dependent on work status. So those things are really important. The first point that I want to make gets to something that Terry said about trying it in Dauphin. So she's right, and there were more experiments in the 70s in the United States and in Canada. There was a site in Winnipeg too. Dauphin was very special in ways. But what we're talking about doing now is not as radical as many people think. We actually do have guaranteed annual income programs in this country. They have been running for decades. They work. The problem is they're not for everybody. They're for seniors. We have old age security and a guaranteed income system that operate exactly like a guaranteed annual income. They feature the main sort of methods of delivery that people talk about theoretically in applying a basic income, a demogrant, which is basically a check that's paid to everybody, and a negative income tax model, which basically, makes sure that those who have the least get the most. So old age security is basically a demogrant. You reach a certain age, you get the check. Tax back at higher levels, but we don't have to worry about that now. And then there's the guaranteed income supplement that's added on, that's a negative income tax version if the rest of your income is not sufficient to meet your basic needs. This program has been running for eons, and we have lots of data that show how much better the situation of seniors is now than in earlier age cohorts. We also have more recently a type of guaranteed annual income or basic income for children, and that means, because kids don't get their own money, it means families with children. So you're giving the money to adults, and all of those nasty worries about work incentive and that sort of thing don't seem to have inhibited that program, and it's working relatively well too. So the problem is everybody else. Basically, single adults and people without children. The other thing that's important to stress, I think, from a Basic Income Canada perspective, is that we're not talking about Milton Friedman's version of a basic income. So, very simply, this is sort of Chicago School of Economics. His version was that the government would provide a basic income to everybody sufficient to kind of keep them alive, and then government would just butt out of everything else and just leave you with your money to fend in the market as best you can. We're not looking at that kind of a system, and that's not what we've developed in Canada. We have basic income type models and income security programs that exist alongside really good top-notch public services that are available to everybody. And those things work in tandem really well, for the most part. The other thing I want to mention too is that we also in Canada have a basic income floor for everybody, although in fact it's actually hundreds of different floors through social assistance or welfare, depending on who you are, where you live, what your particular circumstances are, and which of the 800 rules, in Ontario at least, apply to you. It's I mean, I can't say nothing that's bad about the welfare system and why you would want any alternative to that. Is just the most damaging thing possible. The next thing I want, so that's to me what the basic income scenario looks like for Canada now. Why does this matter now more than ever before, I think, and there are many, many reasons. I'm just going to very quickly go through a few things. So one is that income inequality is getting to extreme levels. It breeds all kinds of social problems. Those social problems cost enormous amounts of money. We are all paying for that, and it's not doing much for us. The other, I think, really important thing is looking at the future of work. And the way our economy is going is just, it's not good. The idea that we held in the 18th, 19th centuries that you work hard and you will be provided for, it just doesn't apply. Very brief anecdote. I was contacted just a couple of weeks ago by a man who works in the high-tech industry, and he called and he said, I know that I am one of those people who's building robots that's putting human beings out of work, and I want to find some way to give back. Jobs are disappearing, and they're not going to come back, and it's not low-skilled labor, it's everybody. Third thing is that these huge income inequalities and lack of income security and people's inability to participate in the economy means that democracy is threatened as well, because you have no money. If you can't participate in society, you have no vote. And as I said, welfare is just so damaging, and with the rest of our income security system, especially employment insurance, in tatters, the fall to welfare is easier. Two final things. Everybody asks how much does it cost. I'm not going to give you a number, even though I wrote one down. It will cost, but I think that's the wrong way to look at it. You have to look at what you're getting for your money, and right now we're paying enormous amounts of money and simply getting more problems. If we invest properly, you pay and you get results. And the last question is always, well, how do we pay for it? And I think it's naive to assume that if we just kind of restructure some programs and save some administrative costs, that's going to pay for it. It won't. We will have to make some adjustments to things, but there are lots of ways in which our tax system has gone backwards over the years, and we do have the ability to correct that. That's all for now.